Hey guys, it is Carl Brown for GuitarLessons365.com. Got a great one for you today. For those about to rock by the great AC/DC. This is a tribute to Malcolm Young, who we just lost last weekend. So this is for him. We're going to keep rocking out to his music for all of our lifetimes. So I guess that's a great way to go out, right? So let's start here. We are in standard tuning. This video is going to take care of all the rhythm guitar parts and a little bit of the kind of unison bends that Angus does later on in the song. And then we're going to take care of the solos in the next two videos. So you'll see those in the next few days. And so here we go. We are in standard tuning here. Now this song is starts with Angus doing a hybrid pick thing up top. So you're going to want to roll off a little bit of the gain, and if you're not very good at using your picking fingers, you can also straight finger pick it as well, because you can probably grab the chords and grab a pick and play the rest of the song pretty quick, because this only happens once in the song. So I'll show you both ways of doing it, whatever way is very comfortable. He uses the pick and fingers. So let's let's take care of the left hand first. We're going to start with just the 11th fret there on the G string, and then the 11th fret on the high E string. Now you're going to have the open B string in there. So that's the first chord. And really he's just changing the melody note on top. So you're going to keep holding that 11th fret on the G and keep playing that open B. Then melody note is then going to go down to the 10th fret on the high E. And then the 14th fret, so it's kind of a stretch. And then 12. So if you can just hum that melody. And then just add the two lower strings. So when you hear the recording, he's really coming down on the strings and muting them and then picking it. So it kind of. So you kind of hear that. Now, you can sling your pick away and just do the bottom note with your thumb here, and then the index finger takes the B string, and then the middle finger takes the high E string. Grab a pick and you're on your way. Now underneath that, Malcolm plays this. All right, so that starts out as just a standard B power chord. So second fret on the A, fourth fret on the D and the G. Then he lifts up the first finger to make it an open A string, still over the fourth fret there on the B and the the D and the G string. So this. Then we go to a G power chord. Now that's basically just the low E string, third fret, and you're muting the A string at the bottom of that finger, and then you have the open D, open G, and really just the third fret on the B string. You don't really have to play the full chord. You can hold it just in case you hit the high E string. And he just picks across it, just kind of randomly, no select strings really. So 1, 2, 3. It's kind of, you can hit a couple strings at a time, doesn't matter. Then he goes to a D chord. So it's a D power chord. So, and then we're going to have the thumb here in the bass on the second string. So that's the thumb there, and then open strings all the way till the second fret on the G and the third fret on the B. So this. And then we go to an E chord. Now, the way Malcolm does this a lot, and Angus too, it's a lot of times it's an actual E major chord, but they're muting the G string, which makes it just a big E power chord. So sometimes you'll hear this note, it's just the G string, the first fret there on the G string. And sometimes it'll be muted. You can just slightly mute it by just leaning your third finger over your ring finger and mute that string. So you'll hear it in and out. It's really, they just kind of randomly use it. But for the most part, it's probably mostly just the power chord. All right, so they kind of hold on this last chord, and Angus hangs on. He kind of holds on that 12th fret melody note, and then they do the riff together. And when they do the riff together, it's pretty much the chorus is all it is. So this comes in after Angus is done with the hybrid picking. And they just don't do any arpeggiated picking. They just play straight through the chords like this. So what I played right there was Angus's part. So let's do that. We go through those two chords, just hit each one once. Then the power chords on the way down. And then Angus does this, which is 2, 0, 2, 2 on the D string. And then start over. And the second ending, it slides up to the 9th fret on the D, and then you're going to grab the double stops here, the 7th fret across the B and the high E string. Hit those a few times. Now Malcolm's part there is just kind of like very similar. I'm sorry. And then when we get to this, and when Angus does this, Malcolm does this. So he kind of matches the rhythm, but he just strums the full chord. And then you just hold that while Angus does that. All right, so then we get to the, kind of go through that all the way till we get to the verse section. Now the verse section, Malcolm and Angus play slightly different parts as well, different voicings of the same chord. Angus's part sounds like this. All right, so that's just that B power chord slid up. And then we have this. This is where the parts differ. Angus plays it like this. He plays it like this is a D major chord in second inversion. So what we're doing here, you can just hold the bar at the 2nd fret there across the B, G, and the D string. Just a regular A chord. But you're going to add the 3rd fret there on the B string and then the 4th fret on the D. So that makes this a D triad, but you still keep the open A string in the bass. So you play that a few times and resolve it down to the A. So we have this. All right, so that goes from D to an A, and then we just do this. A power chord to E power chord. Now you can go to an A to an E major chord if you want to. They'll do that as well. And then to the G power chord, back to the E. So we have this. Let's repeat. All right, now Malcolm's part, he starts with the same chord, but then he takes it this. So he has that difference. Instead of doing it like this, he comes up and plays a D major chord. So that's the 5th fret here, and then you're going to bar chord. Now you can choose to do the full major chord and just do the kind of the D power chord here, 5th fret here, 7th fret on the D and the G, and then resolve that down to an A major chord. Now, he may be playing this full A major with the thumb here on the low E string, but it's just the 5th fret on the low E with your thumb, and then 7th on the A and the D, 6th on the G, 5 on the B. And then back down and just kind of match exactly what Angus does after that. So doing the 2 different versions of that D and A chord really kind of opens the sound up a little bit more. All right, so from there, we're just going to go, that's back to the chorus, which is just the intro riff. All right, so when we get to this solo, the first solo of the song, I'm going to show you the rhythm guitar parts that Malcolm is playing there. It sounds like this. All right, so that's just going to start with that A major chord that we did before, that just barring with your first finger, and play those 4 middle strings, then hammer onto that D major shape that we played. Play that a few times, and then back to the A, so this. And then just go to a G power chord a couple times, to a D. All right, so then we go back through the same kind of verse and stuff, and at the 3-minute and 31-second mark, we have really the bridge when they start doing all the kind of the really epic cannons and stuff start coming out. So that sounds like this. All right, so I was just skipping around there, showing you the different parts that takes us all the way to the outro. So we're going to just start with this B power chord that we played earlier, and then it goes to the G power chord, D, A. That's the. Whatever, I can't. Nobody can sing that high. Then we have. All right, so we do that a few times, and then at the 3-minute 56-second mark, we build back into really kind of the outro solo starts going on. So building up to that, we have this. It's the 3-minute 56-second. So that's just the G power chord into the A major chord. And then we go back through the same chords that we did in the previous riff. We're just kind of strumming through them though. So the outro solo starts coming over that. Now at the very end of that, we just kind of rotate between a G, D, and an A. It looks like this. This is at the 5 minute and 6 second mark, I believe. So it has this is the G, D, A, repeat. So from there, we make it to the actual outro. So let me show you what, over this section, Angus does with the unison bends. So it sounds like this. Here's Angus's part. All right, so a lot of unison bends there, and then at that part right there, he kind of starts going into his outro solo, which is kind of long, so we're gonna just kind of dedicate that to a separate video. So let's start here. So after this, over this part, Angus is doing this. So after that pause, it's a unison bend. If you don't know what that is, hold the 8th fret here on the B string, the 10th on the G. Now pick them both together, and then bend that 10th fret there on the G till it matches the pitch of that 8th fret there on the B. So do that a couple times. Now do the same thing down to the 7th fret and the 5th. Back to the B chord, same unison bends. Back to the B. Now the unison bends are going to change here, and we're going to be on a different string. It's going to be now the 10th fret here on the high E, and you're going to have to, since the tuning is different between these two strings, hold the 13 instead of the 12. Hold the 13 on the B string, and once again, bend that 13th fret until it matches that pitch. So that's 10th fret here, twice, then up to the 14th fret, so it's going to be 17 on the B, and then down 2 frets to the 12th. Back to the B chord, and that's the last pause, and from there we start building in to the song, and we do these kind of descending unison bends. All right, so that's some longer held ones, starting at the 10th fret there on the high E string, unison bend with a note on the 13th fret there on the B. Hold it. Hitting it a few times there, then take it down to the 9. And then 7. Then you're gonna take it down to the ones that we started with, 8, 7, 5, and then you can now just play the 9th fret on the D string like 4 times. And then the last group of unison bends that leads us to the outro solo. So that's a couple of unison bends there at the 7th fret off the high E string, then 10 and 12. All right. Now at the very end here we have this little outro section. That's just kind of a little bit in free time, I guess, and it's just kind of tremolo picked across the same chords as the main riff. So it looks like this. All right, so that's just the same chords we had before. Just, you might want to, actually, if you bow your wrist out a little bit, it makes that tremolo picking a little bit easier. So you just kind of go across. The G. The D with the F sharp and the bass. And E major. And then end it with the B power chord there at the end. All right, so stay tuned for the solo videos. I'll see you then.